Luke 10, verse 19, part 2. God's law establishes a moral code to live by, so that it will be well with thee. The Puritans, who left England in the 1600s for the New World, understood this. They left England so they could worship God freely, without persecution, and to spread their freedom of religion to others. Is it possible they wanted to spread their understanding that a free government can only come from exercising God's law? The Puritans believed that if they obeyed God's law, that He would protect them. So they set up their government according to God's law. In fact, only people from church could be elected into office, and only those who were members of the church could vote. It seems it is the opposite today. Church people believe they should not be involved in politics, and some don't even vote. Yet, with the Puritans, important decisions of government were made by clergy. You can't even get clergy involved in politics today. It must be understood that Christianity shaped the concept of self-government, which was God's designed intention. In God's law, government is supposed to protect its people from foreign invasion and handle civil disputes. This type of government is known as a republic. If a government does not hold to this form of governance, there are repercussions. The Puritans understood this as well, and it was explained with the Jeremiad. The Jeremiad is a sermon derived from Jeremiah's prophecy that if a country abandons its covenant with God and follows after pagan idolatry and immorality, it will face calamities until it repents and returns to God. Then God will restore them to His favor, and they will be blessed. Are we nations blessed or cursed by God? What calamities will we face? As mentioned in Luke 10, 13 through 15, it will be structural destruction, economic collapse, and takeover by tyrannical governments. Some of you may be experiencing tyranny today, and some of you may say it will never happen in my country. Let's look at the steps that lead to tyranny explained by Plato. The ideal government is the aristocracy, or in other words, a republic. In this type of government, the ruler focuses on truth and goodness. Is it possible that the Puritans had knowledge of the 5 types of government and aware that the best form was a republic based on the truth and goodness of the Word of God? It is only through goodness and truth provided in the Word of God that a government will focus on the well-being of its people and not on abuse of power, wealth, and fame. Any other form of government will eventually lead to tyranny because there is no moral code. Without a moral code, a guideline to truth, the people begin to mix the truth with the lie and evil with good. This leads to anarchy. So how does a government start off as a republic and end in tyranny? The leaders compromise and begin to progressively confuse truth with lies and evil with good because they don't have a guideline. This is why the clergy were involved in politics, that is, to keep the rulers in check, as referenced in Deuteronomy 17, 8 and 9. For instance, a timocracy is a form of government where the ruler values power and recognition or fame. He accomplishes this through military conquest. He is not concerned about the people and serving them, but only serving his own needs and desires. This form of government is a combination of aristocracy and oligarchy. An oligarchy comes out of a timocracy. This is where the ruler wants to secure his power by separating the rich from the poor and allowing only the rich to hold political offices. The democracy comes out of an oligarchy because the rulers know the only way to maintain power is to keep the poor dependent on the government and allow them to gratify the desires of their flesh, separate from moral guidelines. The motto is, "Do as thou wilt." Is not this what is happening today? No one is accountable to anything. You can live any way you want to. Without morals and virtue, you have depravity and chaos. And with depravity and chaos come anarchy, and with anarchy come tyranny. When there is disorder, people begin to look for order and search for a leader who can bring order. He may have the character of a democratic and puts on a good show, but in reality, he is consumed by pleasures of life. He thrives on lawlessness and intimidation because that is what will keep him in power. He removes anyone who opposes him and does so by any means necessary. Do you see disorder in your country? Do you see people rioting in the streets? A law with compromise is no law at all. God's law does not allow compromise. It does not allow Sharia law in because it is contrary to the Word of God. It does not allow homosexual marriage because it is contrary to the Word of God that states marriage is between a man and a woman. It does not allow usurping and abuse of powers from government officials and police because it states that their position is to protect the people. So you may be asking, what does this have to do with me? And what does this have to do with this verse? To be continued in part 3.